The original Ally was announced more than a year ago and it was a huge success. It's the first ever Windows-based handheld gaming device that took the world by storm, and many people got one. But there were issues. For example, the microSD cards were melting in the Ally. Actually, I never used the microSD card, but when I tried to use it, it doesn't work because our unit here, the microSD card reader is already faulty, and it is also not the first time that I'm seeing these kind of problems on the original Ally. Of course, there were other issues like the battery life, the super high temperatures, and many more. And on the 2nd of July 2024, which is just the day before Computex 2024, ROG announced the Ally X. There are a lot of changes compared to the original Ally, so let's get through it. If we just look at these two devices, it's obvious that the OG Ally is white and the new Ally X is in black color. The screen is identical on both devices as well. It's a 7-inch IPS LCD panel with 1080p resolution and goes up to 120Hz refresh rate. It also covers around 94% of sRGB and 68.5% of DCI-P3 color gamuts with around 500 nits of maximum brightness. But then that's where the differences start to appear. I'll have to speedrun through them because there are way too many differences between these two Allies. Number one, while they might look different, the ROG Ally X is actually thicker than the original Ally. Number two, the grip is thicker than before, which actually makes it a bit more comfortable. The overall shape of the Ally X is also slightly different, so many existing accessories for the original Ally will not fit on the Ally X. Number 3, the D-pad is different as it is now having this kind of notches on the diamond-shaped D-pad, but a few users have reported creaking noises like this one. I've had the same issue as well when I press the right side of the D-pad. Number 4, the joystick cap is now different. The concavity is now more extreme than before, and I hope the joystick quality has improved as well because I had to buy these silicone rings for the original Ally since the RGB ring is sanding off the joystick. Number 5, the buttons seem to be different as it is much stiffer on the Ally X. This might be due to newness, but I think it is worth pointing out. Number 6, the shoulder button now has a different shape and a different switch, so you can hear it when I press on them. The analog trigger is also very different in shape as well, which is actually more comfortable on the Ally X. Number 8, the M1 and M2 buttons on the back are completely different in both the position and size. I really like the new Ally X's design here because those M1 and M2 buttons are out of the way. Because on the original Ally, I kept accidentally pressing on M1 and M2, so it's a good change. Number 9, the ports on the Ally X are very different. It has one USB 4 port, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, which is a huge user experience improvement over the original Ally's single USB Type-C port. And all of the ports and buttons are also relocated. If you haven't already realized, the XG mobile connector has been removed on the Ally X. And this middle part here is actually for an exhaust. Number 10. Speaking of the cooling, the Ally X has a new fan with more fan blades, smaller bearing, and also thinner than before. The Armoury Crate SE software does tell us the fan RPM and also the noise level, and I took the highest numbers shown on this software, and here they are in comparison with the original Ally. Despite the Ally X's fan spinning at a higher RPM, it is actually quieter than the original Ally's fan by 6 decibels. Not only that, the original Ally's fan are rather annoying as it has a high-pitched whine. The Ally X's new fans are much quieter, so just have a listen here. Since we're inside the Allies, the SSD used on the Ally X is the conventional M.2 2280 as opposed to the M.2 2242 on the original Ally. The ROG Ally X now comes with 1TB of SSD by default as opposed to 512 on the OG Ally. Number 12. The ROG Ally X has 24 gigs of RAM as opposed to 16 gigs of RAM on the original Ally. This is because we can dedicate 8 gigs of the RAM as VRAM for the iGPU and still have remaining 16 gigs of system memory to be used by the operating system. So again, it's another upgrade on the Ally X. Number 13. The battery capacity is now doubled. So we have an 80Wh battery as opposed to the 40Wh that we had before. If we compare the battery life of these two Allies, the Ally X will last for slightly more than double of what we had before on the original Ally. Now, this might be due to some future firmware updates that extended the Ally's battery life, but we can't redo the battery life test on this original Ally because this particular unit, the battery had already been degraded by 16%. Yeah. I mean, the battery life isn't particularly stellar since we are only getting an hour's playtime to 2 hours right now. It's still a step forward, but not really that big of a leap. Number 14, and this is something that I discovered, the Ally X actually supports up to 100 watts of USB PD charging despite it coming with a 65 watts charger. I did 2 charging tests here and found out that the original 65 watt charger, it can reach from totally zero battery to 100% in slightly more than 110 minutes. The red bars here indicate the total power that the Ally X is receiving, and you can see that it is consistently taking at about 65 watts all the way through to 80% charge, and then it will gradually slow down and complete the charging cycle. When I swapped over to the Ugreen 100 watts USB PD charger that I have, it can reach from totally zero battery to 100% in around 98-ish minutes. While that might not sound like a big difference, using a 100 watt charger means that it can reach to somewhere around 30% battery at a much faster rate. The input wattage is a bit more erratic here since you can see that it will consistently take 93 watts, but then it will jump down to 41 watts and then back to 93 watts, then back down to 41 again, and this cycle repeats all the way up to until the battery is at 60% charge before it stabilizes at a slower charging speed, then gradually slowing down and then completing the charging cycle. Those erratic wattage fluctuations is probably due to the battery thermal throttling. I can't confirm this since our tool doesn't log the battery's temperature. Editor's note here, you actually get a benefit if you connect the ROG Ally X to a 100 watts USB PD charger, and that is if you're gonna play a game while you are charging the Ally X at the same time. That means your battery can be charged quicker while you are also playing the game as opposed to the Ally. I hope this clarification helps, and this is a very nice addition by ROG. Number 15. There are 2 included stands in the box of the Ally X. It is redesigned to be only half the length of the original Ally's included stand, and that's a great improvement. Number 16. There is a bug that I discovered on the Ally X. When I bring up the Armoury Crate SE's overlay, it has some delay before the controls move to the overlay. Then when I dismiss the overlay, it has some delay before the controls go back to the game. Sometimes the controls just don't go back to the game and I'm just left stranded there. This issue isn't present on the original Ally, and I have already reported this issue back to ASUS. Hopefully they will get this issue fixed as soon as possible. But there's one thing that remained the same, and that is the chipset. The ROG Ally X is using the AMD Z1 Extreme, just like the original Ally. Now, with the new fan blades and whatnot, the Ally X did get an improvement in terms of its performance. It is measurable too. Take a look at 3D Mark TimeSpy Extreme scores for the CPU. Now take a look at the GPU scores. It's definitely better on the Ally X. But how does this benchmark scores translate to FPS numbers? It's barely 1 FPS difference. Yeah, this is why I personally don't do much of any benchmarks since the scores don't mean much of anything. Considering that the Ally X was announced a day before Computex 2024 started, and AMD announced the Ryzen AI chips just like 2 days later, I feel that ROG should have delayed the Ally X to incorporate the Ryzen AI chips in the Ally X. I mean, we've done plenty of tests on the new Ryzen AI chip, link at the top right corner there if you want to know more. That chip is amazing and it would do so well on the Ally X because of the more powerful Radeon 890M integrated GPU. And I wish that chip is in the Ally. Perhaps the battery life could be extended even further too. Now then, I have a dilemma. Since I am already using the original Ally, should I upgrade to the Ally X? Is it even considered an upgrade since the performance is the same? But I get a bunch of quality of life improvement on the new Ally X, particularly the extended battery life and whatnot. So I have to bring someone else into the conversation so that I can solve this dilemma. JD.
Why? What is this about?
Okay, so this is JD. He's using a Steam Deck right now and he is planning to sell his Steam Deck to get an Ally. So I will present you the same dilemma that I have. Original Ally,
Okay.
You know all of the things around this.
Yeah.
Now this is the Ally X.
Yes.
So I have just said a bunch of different upgrades, 15 of them particularly. Okay. All of them are very good upgrades.
Okay.
And now, I should present you with one more information.
Okay.
Ally X retails for 4,299 ringgit Malaysia. Okay? The original Ally, 3,299 ringgit Malaysia. Okay? There's a big price difference.
Yes, quite a jump.
But you can get this one for around 2,899 ringgit right now.
Yes.
Sometimes during promotion, you can get it at 2,700 something ringgit Malaysia. So if you want to buy them now, there is a very significant price difference.
Like 1,000 over
Yes.
a difference there.
Do remember, performance is the same. It's just a bunch of quality of life improvement on this.
Yes.
So how would you approach this dilemma?
I mean, at the end of the day, you would have to like look at which of the stuff like QOL you put more emphasis on it.
Yeah, depends on what's important to.
Like for one, it's like the battery life. I think the most important is the battery life.
Yes.
Because for a handheld, this you mentioned how much of improvement on the battery life?
Double
of it. Technically, you can achieve the same if you don't mind having a power bank strapped to the back.
I do have a power bank, but okay. There's also another argument that if you have a power bank or you are always near a power outlet, then the battery life don't matter.
Yeah.
And then maybe the grip doesn't matter as well if you are fine with the Ally's design, the original Ally.
I would say, for me, I would just talk from the Steam Deck experience. Steam Deck, it has an excellent battery life, but the performance is kind of not so how to say, something that I would say satisfiable for decent gaming experience.
I saw the frame rates.
Yeah, it's not that good. And then the operating system, I like SteamOS, but at the end of the day, I still prefer to game on Windows because of versatility of that thing. Then when it comes to both of these, Steam Deck has one bigger issue, which is the fan noise, the whining fan noise of that thing. So you will have to reduce the TDP in certain games. You have to customize, so you won't get like 6,000 RPMs whining noise of the fan, the Delta fan.
This one can get, if you max out the performance, the 30 watt input, it can reach 8,000 RPM.
Okay.
But the fan is so finely tuned, it doesn't have high pitch whine.
So that's the thing. The fan whine is something that's very difficult to replace. Like if this is something that is quiet, I would say this is a very, very enticing option for me.
I originally didn't have issue with the Ally fans, but after I tried the Ally X, I'm like, oh, such a huge difference.
Yes. So like you mentioned, like 1,000 ringgit difference from these two.
Yeah, if we just compare retail price, it's 1,000.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if you use it every single day,
Oh, then it's worth.
I think it's worth it to get the X. If you're just trying to get the most out of your money, and you don't mind some of those nuances, I would say.
There are a lot of nuances though.
For example, you can get a case that can strap a power bank at the back, and then have a cable connected to it directly. Then you prolong the battery life. Then you don't mind the fan noise. I think this is fine.
Yeah, it is fine. It's just that for 1,000 ringgit, you do get a lot of quality of life improvement. But not in terms of your performance.
Not in terms of performance.
Yeah,
but
that is where the dilemma.
All the minor stuff. That's why I said you just want to play game. You don't mind everything else.
If you play game with earphones, then I think the Ally would be
fine.
okay. It's just the battery life.
Yeah, just the battery life itself. Having used Steam Deck for that long, I would pick this one.
I will also pick that.
I will pick this one.
If money is not an issue, I will straight away upgrade from this to
I
this.
think yes, this is a very good option.
Yes. Even though same performance, I will still pick Ally X.
Yeah.
Just because of quality of life improvement.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah. Because I have a very big power bank dedicated for this thing. Imagine that.
Do they have bypass charging on those?
Laptops don't have.
Oh, okay.
This is a laptop in a different form factor.
Okay.
Let me just tell you some real life improvement, real life data, not benchmark battery life data.
Okay.
Ally X, if I play Genshin, less than an hour, it's totally dead. So my daily commissions, all of those stuff, no, weekly commissions and bosses, I have to speed run through them, and then this thing is dead. This one, I can finish it. Okay, go to another game, go to ZZZ, finish all of that, and I still have battery left.
Okay.
So I don't have battery anxiety. That is a real thing that happened on the original Ally.
I mean, Steam Deck battery life is way better than the Ally, if you mention. So like I can get about 1 hour and a half
Still better.
battery life just playing Genshin alone.
Oh, Genshin higher settings 25 watts. Yeah, I should mention that.
Unfortunately, for the Steam Deck, everything must be low, and then you get around 30 FPS, sometimes 25. If you're lucky, you get 35 or 40.
This one does have some frame skips, but yeah, higher settings, 60
Yeah,
FPS.
that is
not
highest,
really consistent, but
that is highest setting, man. And then what's the resolution again? I forgot the
1080p.
1080p.
Yes.
Steam Deck
720p.
720p. Lower setting.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
So that's why I'm thinking of selling the deck
to get Ally X.
to get an Ally or something.
Yeah, I still think Ally X, huge improvement. If FPS isn't everything for you, go for it.
Yeah.
Definitely pricey compared to this.
Yes. If
worth
you are purchasing for the first time, like
Yes,
just go for this.
if you're purchasing for
If
first
you
time.
already own this, don't upgrade. Like unless
Depends on you.
Unless you have the money and you really hate all those QoL stuff that is absent from here.
Yeah.
then buy this. Otherwise, I would suggest you continue use the Ally. Maybe wait until next generation.
Yes. After they change the chip.
Then you will get probably all of the QoL and performance upgrade at the same time. So I think that's a decent advice.
Okay. Advice from JD. If you have anything, ask him, don't ask me, because I'm already using the original Ally. Okay, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll get him to read it, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Yay.
Yay, bye.
Go.
Bye.
Go play.